First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. Have you started yet? Are you working the first part of today? Are you going to be doing what I'm doing, which is, I don't know, in about an hour, making a late dash to the shops? Now, hold on, let me get this right. Not to get Christmas presents and stuff like that. I don't think there is such a thing anymore. I think everybody orders their stuff nice and early online, don't they, these days? But a food shop. I'm going to do a late food shop. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't see the point of buying all your stuff 4 or 5 days before and getting caught up in all the big crowds when you can actually go on Christmas Eve. There's virtually nobody out there. Don't tell anyone, just you and me. There's virtually nobody out there. So I'll be going out in a bit, getting me stuff, coming back and probably eating some profiteroles early. But there you go. What's Christmas if not for eating a profiterole early? I'm not a great one, it has to be said, for Christmas pudding. Like Christmas cake, that sort of mince pies. Don't like mince pies. There you go. I think it's that. I just don't like all that stuff, whatever it is. They call it mincemeat, don't they? But it's not. It's like suet and raisins and currants and things like that. Not for me. I like the new stuff. I really do. I do like all those lovely. I like a Yule log and I like profiteroles and modern desserts are better. Sorry for you traditionalists, but we do still like a turkey. Anyway. It's enough Christmas. Well, it's not enough Christmas talk. There should be plenty of Christmas talk. But I do want to wish you sincerely a very, very Merry Christmas. Thanks particularly to everybody that tunes in all the time. I really do appreciate it. And it's been a really, really interesting year at Hammers Chat, no doubt about that. And just year upon year, you stick with us, and it's very much appreciated. Though, thank you very much, and I hope you have a lovely day, whatever. Well, I say a lovely day, it's very stingy. I hope you have lots of lovely days. I hope every day is a lovely day, but in particular, Christmas Day. Have a good one. I don't think I'll be uploading tomorrow. I'll be doing a little bit on Boxing Day, but Boxing Day is sort of my opportunity to pop down and see my folks as well. So I'll be taking the kids down there, doing a bit of that. We'll be watching the West Ham game, no doubt about it, but I'm not so sure. If I do a review, it'll be a very, very sketchy one and very, very quickly and hastily organised because I want to be making merry on that day. Whether West Ham will be making merry is a conversation for another day, maybe, and something that myself and G have already discussed in the preview. If you haven't seen it, I'm here today. It's not a very Christmas. That's the Christmassy message. It's probably not very Christmassy if you're Tim Steidten. Basically, I think that is more in line with my Grinchy demeanour for the Tim Steidten stuff because. The story's been going on for some time. Let's not make out it's any sort of new breaking news or an exclusive, but part of it is. And that's that Tim Steidten's under pressure at West Ham because, and it was quite interesting sort of looking through the signings that were made in the summer because it's a game we've played for quite some time, which is, which one of those is David Moyes signing, which one of those is David Sullivan signing, and we've done it for quite some time, haven't we? And I think it's not got any better. It's just there's another parameter in place, isn't there? Because now it's a case of, is that a Lopetegui signing? Is that a David Sullivan signing? Is that a Tim Steidten signing? Now, what we absolutely know, I've sort of changed my thoughts on it a little bit. I'm very certain that Max Kilman was a Lopetegui signing. I'm very certain that Rodriguez was. I'm less inclined to think it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka now, just because of I did a little bit of investigating yesterday about Will Salthouse and all the rest of it. I think that might be a Sullivan. So I think Sullivans are Crescencio Somerville, and I think they're certainly Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as I said. Tim Steidten, I don't know to blame Wes Fodringham for, but he was there. It doesn't really matter because he was there as a third choice backup keeper. But I think it's fair to say that Tim Steidten's were Jean-Claire Todibo, Niclas Fullkrug, and Luis Guilherme. And he was very much allowed just to go and get those players and do what he wanted. And I think that was the case. I remember contacting the club at the point where it looked as if the Luis Guilherme deal had fallen through. And very much the club came out and said, no, this has not fallen through. Tim is still out there in Brazil trying to do the deal, and this is his deal, and we back him 100%. And obviously at that point, it was just an exciting signing. Nobody knew that maybe the transfer wouldn't work out as well as some might have hoped. So it's very, very clear that was a Tim Steidten deal. We know Fullkrug is, because Fullkrug himself has told us. But anyway, the club are now looking at the transfers and they're thinking, well, you know what, his side of things has not been great. I'm not saying Guido Rodriguez is great. I'm not even saying that Crescencio Somerville, I think the jury is still out on him. I'm not saying all the signings were great, but I think the club are looking at Steidten's, bearing in mind he was pretty much given a blank checkbook for 3 of his signings, and they're saying, right, this guy's under pressure. And because of that, it's now come out in the news today, the breaking news, if you like, the West Ham breaking news, is that Tim Steidten will no longer be given a clear run to do precisely what he wants at West Ham. When it was asked whether he would still be involved in transfers at West Ham, the answer came back, yes, 100% he will be involved, but his recommendations will now be looked at and basically the board have power of veto. That's quite a change. It's a really big change from the summer when you look at it and you think, no, we trust him 100%. Whatever he's doing out in Brazil, let him sign him. When we didn't get a John Duran, which looks like just a horrendous error now, doesn't it? I think then when Steidten came up and said, well, I can get this guy as a replacement and he'll do a job, they said, right, okay, do what you want, we'll back you 100%. We'll leave Todibo out because, look, Todibo could still be anything, couldn't he? Let's be fair. And then to be fair, all 3 of them could still be anything. But I think it's a little bit more difficult with Todibo because, at times he looks absolutely brilliant, doesn't he? And I think maybe under a different coach, I think he would absolutely excel. I think possibly you could we don't know that Guilherme would excel, but under a different coach he'd be given a chance. He's not even given a chance at the moment. Fullkrug's different because Fullkrug doesn't want to be here. He's very, very public, speaks a lot, makes a lot of appearances, talks an awful lot, doesn't he, Fullkrug? Gives a lot of interviews to the German press, appears on podcasts, goes on TV, that sort of thing. And it is quite clear he doesn't want to be here. So I think where there's the pressure on Steidten on this one is, why didn't you know this? Because Fullkrug's said that he knows Steidten. They know each other personally. You think with that in mind, you don't need to do your due diligence if you know somebody. Why sign somebody that probably don't want to come in, is probably going to be homesick? It looks like a massive error. And I got told off the other day for calling it a £27 million, £1 million transfer. And it's whatever it's not, it's 27 million euros. I got accused of making it sound worse than it is. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I mean, even if let's say we call it a £24 million transfer with his wages, it's still bad, right? But he's under pressure for that. So for the club now to say, well, you're not going to have full control of transfers. You can recommend players, but we'll then have a closer look. Is quite a move. Is quite a change. Personally, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I need to give it a little bit more thought whether this sort of halfway house is the right thing to do. I think certainly was in a mindset of either back him or sack him. And you could say the same with either Lopetegui or Steidten. But I do think, it doesn't look great. Certainly the finances of that deal don't look great. Let me just say that without saying any more. So I think it's hard then to say to Steidten, let's say we sold Kudus, let's say we sold him for the 75 million, 80 million or whatever. Tim is £80 million. Go and do with that what you want. I think that's hard to do that. I think that is. I think if I was in charge of the club, I would want to be seeing what exactly happens with that. With all the transfer with Fullkrug, because I do look at that and I think, West Ham got done. West Ham got done. Dortmund's probably the agents involved. A lot of people, a lot of people earned some money, off the back of West Ham. I don't think we got our end of the bargain. So I think it's difficult to look at that and say, okay, Tim, have more money, buy whoever you want. So I'm not sure whether it's the right thing to do. But if you're not going to do that, then ordinarily, do you ideally want the board choosing players? No. I think it depends how much Mark Noble's involved. I would want Mark Noble heavily involved in this stuff. But it doesn't mean just because Tim Steidten has had a couple of crap signings, doesn't mean he's bad at identifying footballers. Again, we get back to that black and white thing, that binary thing. You're either anti or you're all. It's not. I think it's so. It's the modern way, and I do sort of blame social media for it. Of everything's either brilliant or horrendous, and I think you've got a mixed bag with Steidten. I think he's brought in some good players, and I think if we were to sell Kudus on a big profit, I think that's definitely a feather in the cap of Tim Steidten. Well done, Tim. But he's obviously made some signings that haven't worked out as well. So I'm not sure. It's a tough one. Ordinarily, I think in times like this, I think what I'd be doing is I would be looking at the board to maybe have a look at the manager. And if the manager was in a more secure position, I'd probably be looking and saying, well, who do you want? But that's a hard one to do. That's a hard one to do with Lopetegui. It's a hard one to give him any real authority on transfers because we don't know whether he's going to be here or not. I've said a few times now, I think he feels to me like a caretaker manager. I don't feel there's a great amount of faith from the club that he's going to be the man to take us forward. I think they've definitely identified someone to take over in the short term. And because they're only willing to give any of these people who, well, whatever, be it Graham Potter or anybody else, a short-term deal, would perhaps hint that maybe they have someone else in mind for the long term. Look, if either or are true, then you can't really give Lopetegui money. So I think we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. And I do wonder how Steidten is going to take this, really, because he's been allowed to bring people over. He was allowed to bring the guy over whose name is Maximilian Hans. There you go, remembered it. He was able to bring the data analyst over from Wolfsburg, Werder Bremen, something beginning with W. And if you're going to do that, then you're probably going to rely on someone like that. He brought in his brother. Brother Steidten. He's not a monk, right? Brother Steidten. To be fair, I've heard nothing about. I've heard nothing. He's not. I mean, anyone's seen him. So we just don't know what's going on there. But I think it's difficult for him if you've sort of given somebody the mandate to rebuild the recruitment. If you then cut their power from underneath them. I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange one. I need to think it through, really. And I guess I don't particularly want to be in a hurry to make a decision on it because in this one, the proof for the pudding, the proof of the profiteroles in this, it's not very festive profiteroles. They are now. Stick a little chocolate Christmas tree on top of them, they will be. But the proof of the profiteroles, caramel ones, is in the tasting. Lovely. I'm hungry, actually. I think we can only really see when it comes to February the 1st. Unless it's a leap year. There's no February 1st in a leap year, as everybody knows. Until we get to February and the January transfer window is done, it's hard to say whether this has been a success or it hasn't. But West Ham are definitely in a little bit of a muddle. And I think at this point in time, our attempts to try and modernise look a little bit silly at the moment. They look like they failed somewhat. I don't know where I am on it. I don't think I've got to be honest with you. I do think I'd be looking at that summer recruitment. If I'd got a director of recruitment, or whatever you want to call him, sporting director, and that had happened in the summer, I don't think I'd be very happy with it. And I think in many respects, I'd probably be glad that I did things the other way. I'm just trying to put myself in that situation. I don't know what you think. It could be argued. I don't know who. I get the impression Carlos Soler was Lopetegui's pick. Would that be fair? I don't know what you think about that. It's hard to know. But I certainly think if you look at the summer signings, I think our two best summer signings have been Kilman and Wan-Bissaka. And I don't know, mate. It's a little bit too early. He's had 3 good games, hasn't he, Soler? I don't know if we want to start chucking him in there yet. But I think when you start looking at it and you think, well, actually, the 2 best summer signings and possibly someone who might turn out to be third have not really been anything to do with the director of football. The guy charged with bringing these guys in is not so good. So maybe I'll be looking at it as well. But there's other things. It doesn't mean the club are blameless because the club have got to look at themselves for hiring Hulan Lopetegui. And maybe that's the problem. You know, maybe we would be all right. Maybe if we'd hired the guy that Lopetegui, Tim Steidten had recommended as manager, head coach, we wouldn't be in this situation. I don't know. Tough, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to say Merry Christmas to you all. I'm going to go out to the shops. Let them be empty. I'm telling you. Even the roads are empty. People are at home drinking their sherry. Don't we drink sherry? Do you drink sherry? Nobody's drinking sherry, are they? Mince pie and sherry. That's Father Christmas, isn't it? He does. He'll be around later, by the way. I gave it some serious thought about leaving carrots out after the conversation the last few days. And I've decided it is just rather stingy just to leave one carrot out. You've got one reindeer, I guess it's Rudolph, one reindeer at the front. He's just fat. And all the others are starving. But big old Father Christmas there. Mince pies. I left him some dead man's finger rum last year. So I didn't have it. He knocked it back, I tell you that much now. Knocked that right back. The raspberry one. Dead man's finger raspberry rum. Father Christmas, he was having that. Mince pie. Half eaten, always. Footprints. One carrot, though. One carrot. So I'm thinking, I might leave a whole bag. I'm going to go out now, actually. I'm going to go and get carrots. Anyway, whatever you do, whatever your ritual is, do you do that new elf thing that they all do? Elf on the shelf. That's it. Is it? Elf on the shelf. I think that's it. Anyway. Right, I'm going to skedaddle. Stop talking about Christmas. I stopped talking about Christmas to you. I'm going to continue to talk about Christmas. I'm going to try and be as Christmassy as I can. Once again, thank you, everybody, and I will catch up with you on Boxing Day, probably. I probably will do an upload on Boxing Day in the morning and build up to the game. We'll definitely be doing our breakfast show over on Patreon, by the way. And one final little cheeky plug on Patreon. Want to support Hammers Chat? Get yourself over to Patreon. Want to buy Patreon as a Christmas present for a fellow West Ham fan? Get yourself over there, patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Links in the description below. Thank you to everybody that has joined. Thank you to all the patrons. Hopefully we've kept you entertained all year. Our naked podcast, we are fully clothed, but we talk about other stuff aside from football. Probably not a profiterole talk in that. In fact, a lot of it is self-service scanners. A lot of the time we talk on there. Boop. Some work better than others, don't they? Are they making people unsociable? I think so. Anyway, we talk about lots of that stuff, and people have seemed to enjoy our non-football related podcast. So thank you to everybody that's joined and stayed with us on Patreon. Thank you to everybody that's watched the channels, all 3 channels, watched the videos, clicked on our sponsors, ETC Sports for a day, somewhere in the corner. We love ETC Sports. Been with us a long, long time. West Ham fans, don't you know? Got sent a very interesting Christmas card, a virtual Christmas card from ETC Sports. I'll say no more than that. But we love them to bits. Have a lovely, lovely Christmas, everyone. I'll catch up with you on the other side.